Hey, welcome back to Urban Legend Crypto. Again, we have Bret Jenny, our co-host, and we have a special guest, Thomas Bouchereau. And we're here to talk about, Thomas, what are we going to talk about?
I believe we're going to be talking about NFTs.
All right.
Thomas is the king of NFTs.
Thomas is the king of NFTs. So what we're going to do is talk about two things, NFTs and Discord, because he's also the king of Discord, I hear. So we're going to do both. That way we can reach a bunch of people like some old goats like us that kind of don't mess with Discord much and kind of get an understanding of Discord. So we're going to let you take it away. Thomas, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about NFTs. Okay.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself first, man. You're past a little bit. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably best to start there, right?
Yeah.
Getting into crypto, I'd say just to give a little bit of background there, I think I bought my first bit. Oh, I got to talk a little bit better here, right? I guess I bought my first bit of Bitcoin back when the coin was still sub 1,000. I think it was like 486 when I bought my first portion of Bitcoin. And when I did that, it was purely just, not meant for an investment. It was purely using it. I was using it to buy things overseas. Had no clue what I was buying. And
Kidding.
Yeah, so I totally wish I had one of those stories that like I had left something in a wallet that I forgot about, type of thing. But no, everything I bought, I ended up using. And so that was like the first exposure to crypto and understanding.
So your first Bitcoin experience was actually using it as a use case.
Yeah, I actually used it as a currency, not as a store.
Yeah, like what it's meant for.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
Surprise.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man.
Yeah, that started it, and then I would say a good amount of years went by without even anything, not even on the radar at all. And then I think it was 2016 when like everything was kind of just popping off, and I got back into the whole crypto game again, and I started learning more about, Ethereum, NFTs started coming around, got into that a little bit and just dabbling just a little bit here and there with them. Totally getting wrecked with Ethereum gas fees. So I'm not too sure if you guys are all familiar with those, but, at the time, they weren't the worst, but they progressively got more and more expensive as more people started to come on.
They're the first problem I noticed in crypto.
Yeah, so as more people got into Ethereum-based NFTs, right? In the very beginning, there wasn't much use, so it didn't cost too much. But as more people came in, obviously gas fees started getting worse and worse. At one point, I took advantage of switching from Ethereum over to Solana, and that was purely because of the fact that there was points where you're minting a $250 NFT, and it's not that expensive. That's a cheap one, like a $250 NFT. But then you end up spending $200 in gas just to.
So explain to people what that is, gas fees, and why they got so expensive. Just kind of go and explain that a little bit.
So basically, gas fees are just there to confirm the transactions on the blockchain, right? So you submit a transaction prior to Ethereum going over to proof of stake. They were proof of work, right? So they actually were able to be mined, right? So people were mining Ethereum with either their computer chips, or they were using technology, which I like to use, which is called ASIC miners, right? So application-specific integrated circuits, and those are going to actually mine almost plug and play for you to.
So they're getting paid to facilitate.
They're confirming the transaction.
Yeah,
so they're facilitating the transaction and confirming it on the blockchain, right? That's the whole point of it, is being completely decentralized.
Why did it get so expensive?
More people were using it, so the network would get bogged down, right? So the more people that would use it, kind of like the same concept as if more people go to a restaurant, there's going to be a longer wait period, right, before you can get seated. Same kind of concept. If more people are using the chain, the more wait time there's going to be, right? So gas fees on Ethereum, you can actually pay for slower, medium, or fast, right?
Yeah,
you can choose
how fast you want it done.
More,
correct.
And so you can pay for speed, right? And so that's a kind of nice thing is you could pay for that. But at one point, gas fees got so bad to where you're minting something, it didn't make sense to mint anymore, in my opinion, unless you're minting something that was over $1,000.
Agreed.
Or
Agreed.
more on Ethereum, because you're paying all those gas fees when it comes to minting. But then once you mint, it's not just that. That's not the end of the gas fees.
Yep.
When you go to OpenSea or Blur or any of these other places that you want to actually list, you end up paying another gas fee just to make it.
So you have a $350 NFT, and it costs you almost $200 to send it in gas fees.
That's just to get it, and then you spend
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And the reason being is because when Ethereum was created, it wasn't created to be able to keep up and do the volume that it's doing right now. Correct?
Exactly.
So as the Ethereum got very popular, the technology wasn't built to deal with the mass adoption that it got, which caused it to clog up, got very expensive, which is why then I'm assuming, got into Solana, correct?
Exactly. And so actually when I switched over to Solana, it was awesome. It was super awesome. It was like kind of happenstance. It was before their major marketplaces ever became a thing. It was way back when I can't even think of the name. I think it was Solana Art was the actual exchange. It's like I don't think anyone would use it nowadays, but that was way before Magic Eden, way before any of these other ones that have come out like Tensor or any of those ones. And so when I switched over, it was like, oh, I was able to mint this and it cost me like 0.0003 cents, like not even a penny. What? Like, okay, that was interesting. And then being able to sell, like, on a high, and it's like, okay, it didn't cost me anything to list. The sale, like, so true buy and sell price was there, right? Like the buy and sell was like, okay, if I bought it for $200, I could sell it for $250. I made $50 profit. I made a 25% profit. And there was maybe like a couple cents taken out of that transaction from the fees versus the other way around. If I minted something on Ethereum for $250 and I paid $250 in gas fees and then I listed it and it cost me another $100.
You're absolutely right. There was it got to a point where there's no sense in doing anything on Ethereum with an NFT unless it was a $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 project or something.
At that time.
At that time, yes.
It's definitely gotten way better since then, right? Like, there's still high gas fees. You still spend a lot of money. I mean, I'm still on the Ethereum chain. I still buy Ethereum-based NFTs. I just bought the most expensive one I've ever bought in my life the other day.
What one was that? We were talking about that.
And so that was a DGOD. I definitely say DGODs are going to be number one on Ethereum here.
So
not too long.
We were talking about this a little bit to kind of keep in the subject, but stray a little bit. Why? So people can understand. You paid how much? 15 or 16,000?
Well, I paid just under 9 ETH, so I paid 8.95 ETH. I think today that's about 17,000.
Okay, and you said it's already increased a couple $1,000s within the last.
Yeah, the price rate went up to 10 ETH.
So what is it? What I'm assuming that's a community, and so the NFT represents a community, and why is it valuable?
Yeah, so I mean, every NFT is a different story, right? So this one in particular is the DGODs community, right? So DGODs owns Dust Labs. They also own the Utes brand, right? So the Utes brand is also another NFT community. And so realistically, when you follow them, right, like they've had what's called DGOD Season 2. That's when they went from DGODs to Dead Gods. There was like a huge art upgrade. The ability to stake for Dust at the time was a big incentive to go from DGOD to Dead God. And so you were able to literally stake your NFT and earn dust, which was valuable. You can convert that to Sol, you can convert that to USDC right away, and you were earning money just by owning your NFT, right?
Okay.
And so that did very, very well with what they did. That was season 2 of DGODs, right? So then season 3 of DGODs is right around the corner, and that's what everyone's kind of hyping up on right now and getting excited. That's why when I did it, it was already gone up so much as it has. But that's just because we're gearing into season 3 for it, which is still all speculative right now. There's no set hard know what's out there. They haven't started dropping their actual facts of what's going to happen. But I'm very excited for that one as well as the Utes, right? So I'm part of the DGODs community.
Gotcha.
By being a Ute first, right? I owned a Ute beforehand.
What is a Ute?
A Ute's just another NFT. So it's going to be, in my opinion, it's like the creator's NFT, the way that it's out there right now. So I would assume that majority of people that are out there that are going to be content creators will eventually, most of them are going to be into the Utes community, right? And that's just because that's just where, in my opinion, the NFTs really, really rely on community to survive, right? Without a community behind it, the NFT itself will typically die out or drain out, or the hype behind them will fizzle out, right? So community is so important to sit there and actually be a part of, the actual growth plan of it, that right now that all the influencers, all the people that are excited about NFTs are starting to pick up on these Utes and DGODs, right? And so realistically, that's just where the hype is starting to flow right now. But it's been that way. They've proven themselves time and time again that they can actually execute on.
So in a sense, and let me know if this is a fair comparison. In a sense, you guys is like the company Johnson and Johnson. Utes God. I'm sorry.
No God, just Utes.
Utes. Sorry.
There you go.
Well, you said the NFT that you bought.
DGODs.
DGODs. I'm sorry. So the NFT that you bought, DGODs, and correct me if I'm wrong, I compare it to like, say Johnson and Johnson. They're a company, but they own other companies that do other things as well. So if you buy a stock into Johnson & Johnson, you're buying a stock into, yes, that parent company, but the value is them owning all these other companies and their companies and the profits that they come in for that. So in a sense, they provide value because they own these other companies like labs and other things that are producing products. But at the same sense, the community that's actually in there is what brings an extra layer of value.
Always, always.
Is that a good comparison?
Very good way to put it that way.
Cool. I'm just saying that for the old people. So they digital.
So like, I mean, for example, like, I mean, one of the things they own in real life is they do own a basketball team. So they own like one of the 3
That's awesome.
basketball teams, right? So as a utility, if there's tickets available, you get to show up, you show your D guide.
There you go.
For free.
There you go. I get it. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Pedro, what say you?
it sounds to me like a Ponzi scheme. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't see a lot of use case in it, and I'm not trying to be rude at all, but it just seems to me like the way you described it, it doesn't sound to me like the use case is supported by anything other than a community that is giving it value. Hold on. So for now, the verdict's out. Now, do I like NFTs? You love them. But I'm still kind of not sure about the use cases yet. You mentioned Solana. I thought Solana was great. I mean, I literally bought 10,000 shares of Solana, whatever it was. It was stupid. And I got my butt handed to me with Solana. Okay. But I know that we're going to be using NFTs on day-to-day very soon. I just don't know whether or not I want to get involved with what you mentioned until I see a little bit more. I mean, I'd rather put the $17,000 into Bitcoin than to do what you just said. But that's only because I'm a coward.
So
I've got
really,
my ass
really,
handed
right?
to
So the way I put it, so to explain NFTs, right? Because most people don't understand the value there, right? So when I say community is everything, right? And that's truly, in my opinion, that is where everything is, right? So if you look at people that in today's society in like Web 2, right? Like I talk Web 3, but just to break it down for people that aren't not used to crypto or not used to NFTs, people spend $10,000, $20,000 a year to be part of a country club. Right?
That's
just
right.
so that way they can go golf at a club.
That's a great example.
And at that same time, guess what? They're not getting free golf. They're still paying for their golf. They're not getting free food. They still have to pay for a.
They're just paying that for entryway into the membership.
Just so that way they can rub shoulders with other people that can feel good about paying $20,000 to be a part of something.
Let me give you an example on that. That's a great example. Donald Trump graduates from Wharton School of Business and had $10,000 after graduation. I'm sure he had more, but took $10,000 after graduation and bought a membership to, I think, one of the highest, like high society clubs, bought like $10,000 to one of the best country club memberships in New York City. And that's what he spent his graduation money on. Because he knew by being in that atmosphere, by rubbing shoulders with those people, those are the people he wanted to connect with and could do business with and take them to instantly a higher level.
Without a question. And
so it's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's really it. When you look at Yuga Labs, right? Like you look at like Bored Apes, like the one that everyone thinks they know. They're like, oh, I know NFTs because I know Bored Apes, right? Like they think that. Well, realistically, like their value, they exploded so well because every one of those holders have gotten 10 times back what they've spent to be a part of that community, right? So if you pay 10,000, right? Or say for this DGOD, right? I paid 17,000. Right. If I make back more than 17,000 just from the connections I met from, hey, here's what's happening over here, or hey, you should tweak this because this is what you're doing, but hey, let me give you some advice on it. And now they've helped me build something separate from the ownership of that. But just, hey, I've now made 20, 30, 40, $50,000 just by being a part of this community. I don't ever want to sell that because they're going to continue helping me build. Right?
Just like a company, you're investing in the people.
Exactly. And so you're the relationships are where you're getting out of it more than anything.
Well, let me deep dive with you. Because I don't know a lot about those communities. I will admit that. I don't. I do know enough about NFTs to have a decent conversation. But what would be the advantage for the average Joe okay, in this case, Pedro, to put $17,000 of my money into the DGOD community, once I invested $17,000 into that community, can you walk me through what would be the next steps? What would happen after that?
Yeah, so I mean, it all depends on what your plan is with it, right? So, I mean, first off, crypto kind of lives on Twitter, right? When it comes to like a social media platform. And so realistically, your presence on there is going to make a difference the same way as your presence in social media anywhere will make a difference, right? So being out here as realtors, right? If you're not on social media, you're probably not being seen in the eyes of your family and friends that you're not being active, you're not being successful. Same thing with crypto, right? Like people will, right now we're in such an early stage of crypto, even though it's been around for as long as it has, we're still in such an early stage for adoption rates for there that when major companies eventually want to come out and actually start using, integrating crypto into their businesses, who are they going to go to, right? They're going to go to the people that have had the most experience in it, that have been in it the longest, that obviously could have the most influence. So there's different types of people that are obviously there. There's going to be developers. I'm not a developer, right? So I could go to school and try to learn all the skills to become a developer, but that would not be my forte when it comes to a business that wants to integrate crypto, right? My forte would be understanding how to get their Discords ready to go, get them set up on their Twitter, get their marketing ready, making sure they understand the mindset of most of these people that are in these communities, right? Those are different types of people that communities.
So he actually does this,
buy and hire.
Does this for a business, what he's describing right now. So kind of walks somebody through. Someone comes to you and says, hey, why would somebody, let's break it down to this. Why would somebody come to you in the first place? What would be their goal? To grow I'm creating a coin or an NFT or something. I want to grow my community. Why would they come to you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so really when you look at it, right, like the experience is everything. So same thing with why would anyone use you as a realtor, right? Kind of thing. Think of it that way.
Well, I know you know what you're doing, but like walk me through the process of what you would do for them that's included in.
Of course.
Like
so
what you do for their business.
So, so it all, again, that's going to depend on them, right? So some people might want to launch an NFT project. Well, if you've never done it, you have no clue how to launch an NFT project, right? You might be like, okay, great. I need some artwork. I'm going to put it on the blockchain. I'm going to launch it and it's going to sell out.
Pedro and I would be lost.
I can't tell you how many people. I mean, I tried launching my own when I first got into it, like way back when. And it was like, okay, cool. This is awesome. I can put artwork together, put it on the blockchain, but then where do people buy? Like, what? I mean, yeah, it's up for sale. Here's a for sale link, but why are they not?
But if nobody knows it's for sale, it's not worth much.
Exactly. And then as you grow, you realize that hey, there's mints and learning how to do all that type of stuff, right? So realistically, someone that wants to start an NFT project has no clue where to start. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get it going. They don't even know how to get the legs underneath them to get it started, right? And that's where we would come into play, right? Because we have that experience. We know we have the people in place, right? So we have a network of people. We have developers that can do all the smart contracts, that can create the mint pages, that can create all the different tokens, that can set up staking platforms and all the different things that they need to have a community that's actually be running. But we also have, Discord moderators. We have people that we have a whole set.
So you have everybody in place to run the entire team
from start to finish.
Okay.
And so, I mean, really, if you try to do it on your own and you don't know what you don't know, it's super easy to fail in this system, right? Like, and there's failure after failure after failure in NFT launches, and that's what's really holding people back from getting into it, because there are those stories of, hey, I bought this one and then all of a sudden it just rugged, right? And rug means that the project founder just took all the money and just disappeared because they didn't have any business background behind them, or the project wasn't minting out right, or something didn't just go right. And so all of a sudden people lose out on all their money. And that's what's putting bad taste in some people.
There's a whole bunch of things they didn't anticipate because they didn't have any experience to know it was going to happen.
Yeah,
but you have the experience to.
You create a Discord and you get people in that Discord, and then no one's talking. It looks like a dead chat. It looks like it's a dead Discord. If you as the owner don't show up there consistently, daily, to make sure that you're giving an update, so that way people are hearing it. Because in Web3, really, like a day feels like a week feels like a month, and a month feels like a year.
Huh.
Okay, so let's take a step back. So I go onto that DGON and I
DGODs.
That's
right.
I got it. And I drop 17 grand. All right. Now, when I drop that money, I'll get an NFT for that money, I'm supposing.
Yes.
Okay. And then in that NFT, it's going to let me I'm going to be able to go to a basketball game by showing the NFT.
You go into their Discord.
I go into their Discord, and then I can pitch my product or my up-and-coming NFT or what? Walk us
I wouldn't
through that.
necessarily say it's
So
to
what
go
do I
pitch it.
get
Yeah, I
after
wouldn't say it's
drop?
pitching, right? So it's literally a matter of you learning, being able to meet people, right? Like it's kind of like getting into the room, right? If you're not in the room, you can't chat with someone. Like you can be outside and watch people from far. It's
Like, slow down, man. You got to buy her drink before you take her home.
But realistically, yeah, so once you get it, like the experience of that, I can talk about for any NFT. So when you buy an NFT, right, like you go into Discord, normally they're going to have it set up so that way there's a general chat or a holders chat, right? General chat is anyone that just joins Discord. You don't have to own anything. There's no token gating. It's just you verify you're human and you're in. But then if you want to be part of the community, you have to verify it that you own that NFT. It's in your wallet, and then it unlocks another opening in that Discord channel, right? And so now anyone you talk to in that channel are verified holders, right? And if they ever sell, they lose their role. They're automatically going to get kicked out of that channel, and it's all automatically done. So you're only chatting with people that are also within that community, right? Now, obviously, anyone can come into a community and buy, right? And so in the beginning, the people that buy into a community aren't necessarily the people that are going to be there a year from now, 6 months from now. And over time, the community determines itself of what kind of community, what level of community it's going to be, right? And most don't make it. It's simple as that, right? Like there's so many projects that just simply don't make it. And this one in particular, right? We just surpassed Mutant Ape Yacht Club, which was nice to see. So
Wow.
Bored Apes do have their second generation of the Mutant Apes, and we just passed those, which was nice to see there. But realistically, it's just a matter of where you are now. Someone that's coming in with 17,000 or 18,000 to buy a floor DGOD is someone that has some money, right? It's not going to be some kid off the street that just minted and got lucky, right? Because a lot of these guys that are originally part of the community, they bought it for 2.5 Solana, 3 Solana. Well, but I mean, at the time, Solana was $100, so they still paid.
That's still cheap.
They paid $250 to $300 for something that they could sell today for 17,000, 18,000 all day long, type of thing, right? So realistically, over time, those people that bought for cheap sell out, and we call them paper hands when they paper out. But in reality, hey, if they can sell for a profit, it's profit, right? But then the next generation of people coming in are paying higher amounts of money to get in. So over time, if a community actually grows and becomes a higher price community, the level of people that get into that community is just a higher type of person getting into that community as well.
Okay, so if I got this straight, I'm going to drop $17,000, join a community where I can chat away and talk to people and maybe bring up new products. And this is what they do, like Bret said, at a country club, right? Kind of just talking. You got a kitchen pass to get into the thing, okay? And you're saying it's based on Solana, so I'm assuming that you could...
This one's not on Solana. This one's Ethereum.
Ethereum. It's an ETH base. Okay. And then where would you buy it? At OpenSea, or do you guys...
So they are on OpenSea. DGODs are primarily traded on Blur, which is another exchange or marketplace for NFTs on Ethereum. But yeah, definitely would say Blur is the go-to for DGODs.
But like, so instance, I know somebody who owns Neo Tokyo, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Neo Tokyo is another one that's very high-end NFT. What is it, like 12, 13, 14, 15,000, something like that.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But point being is it's the whole community that's behind it. So most of the people in that community are CEOs or founders or something like that. So what this guy does is once he bought his Neo Tokyo and got in the community, he goes on Discords and he hangs out in the chats, and then he hits up individually all these different people and strikes up conversations, and some work out and some don't work out. But he's able to build his network and come to people. Like if you've got an idea, you need capital or you need to collaborate with somebody, it's just you're working with high network people who also are very successful. And so he'll take it upon himself to use that as a platform to have a personal connection and a reason to reach out to these people who probably wouldn't normally respond to you if you sent them on a message on Twitter or something like that. So they recognize that you have a Neo Tokyo or a DGOD or whatever it is as well. And so they understand you're at a certain level. Does that make sense?
It does.
Completely agree. So, I mean, that's one of the best benefits there, right? Is you can actually message someone that you've never talked to in your entire life and they'll respond to you, right? Like if you don't have that PFP, which is your profile picture, right? Like, and you have it of something else that's, not recognizable or anything crazy, and you message someone, they're like in the DGOD community, yeah, they may not see it, but realistically, if you're wearing, a certain PFP and you're part of that community, like even if, like right now is, any anywhere you go in life, you're going to be more open to someone that's like you, right? Like, so if you're a realtor and you go somewhere else and you meet another realtor, you're instantly, opened up to them a little bit because you have something in common. Same kind of concept with this is if you see someone message you and they're repping a DGOD NFT as their PFP, I'm going to take the extra few minutes to read their message first and see if it's something that I even want to respond to. But at least I'll respond and say, hey, what's going on, and see what they have to say.
Like the old somebody message you and be like, listen, man, as long as you're a friend of my friend, you're a friend of me. Same thing, right?
Exactly. So many different, we call them metas, right? When it comes to NFTs, and everything kind of comes in cycles. And like I said, a day feels like a week feels like a month, right? And so these cycles can last anywhere from 1 to 5 days. They can last a week. They can last a month. But they come and go very, very quickly. Like, I would say probably 2 weeks ago, we were in this extremely heavy meme coin season, right? Like, you could buy literally a coin and go to bed, and the next morning, it would go up by 17,000%.
Literally.
And you're like, oh, wow, that was awesome. That was
that $100 made me 200,000.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome to see what happened with these meme coin seasons, right? But that season's gone. It's done. Like, meme coins are not real. I mean, yeah, they're still there, but that season of the hype is gone, right? Like, you can go you can go on all these different sites to see what kind of...
It was like the rise and fall of a civilization in 30 days.
Yeah. And that's what happens all day long. It happens everywhere, right? So when I was part of another project called Blacksmith Labs, right? Really, really strong whitelist program, right? So they created a platform that was designed, it was called Mercury, and it was designed to purely give out whitelist, right? So all these NFT communities had a pain point of collecting wallet addresses and actually distributing whitelist to their community, right? And all whitelist means is that you have the ability to mint an NFT prior to the public, right? And so normally they'd have like phase 1, phase 2, and then public, right? But in order, if you run a Discord, you'd have to put in these like wallet collection bots, and then you'd take it as an Excel spreadsheet, and then you have to submit that over to whatever mint platform you were going to use, or you have to submit it to your dev for them to submit it, actually get it all ready to go. But realistically, what Mercury did was now they created a platform that anyone can go connect their wallet to. If they have the Discord role in their Discord, they automatically get their whitelist.
So all that work is now taken. It's still there. It's just hidden in the back end, and now it's more seamless.
Yeah, and this is all.
There you go.
This is all in the past already at this point.
Yeah,
right? We're way past this all right now. But at the time, they were straight dominant. They were killing it.
Yeah.
That NFT, the Blacksmith Labs, were killing it at the time because anyone that used their platform, it was a free to use platform. The only difference they had to do is they had to designate a certain amount of their whitelist to Blacksmith Labs, right? So by being a Blacksmith Lab holder, we got freaking rained whitelist. So it's like, hey, this is a hyped mint that everyone's spending hundreds of hours just trying to get on the whitelist by grinding in a Discord, just talking to each other, trying to just show support, just so that they can get a role change to whitelist so they can mint this thing on Mint.
Yeah, I've seen that in Discords before. You've got to take an active.
As a holder, it's just like, oh, here you go. You got the whitelist. You don't even need to do anything. Don't spend any of your time. You're good. Same thing with DGODs. We get text messages all day long. Hey, we're launching this project. Do you guys want whitelist? Here you go. Have them. Feel free. We want you as part of our community, right? Because we know that you guys obviously.
So then you get first,
right.
So when you get this whitelist, let's take it back a second, all right, for the OGs that don't get this. Okay, so basically, take it 2 steps back. You get this whitelist. Now the whitelist is just a let's just call it a white paper that has all these different wallet addresses that possibly can be someone that may invest in your new NFT project. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
It's like an RSVP.
Exactly.
So-and-so's getting married in June, and are you coming or are you not coming? Here's your invite, and you get to know before the wedding.
Okay, so what would be the benefit, okay, if I get this whitelist? So let's say I got this whitelist from 10, 15 people. I'm going to let Bret answer this.
Let me answer this
Go ahead, buddy.
quickly. So Tykes, which is an NFT here with Ryan Pineda, it's a huge real estate community. So last year, right before Tykes came out as an NFT, I was involved on the Discord with that community, and I got whitelisted. So you're able to buy up to 5 NFTs before it actually hit the market as a whitelist. I picked up 5 for $500. The day that they hit the open market as an NFT, by the end of the day, they were worth $5,000 each. So I picked up 5 of them for $2,500 that were now worth, $50,000. No, I'm sorry, that were now worth $25,000 within one day because I got on the wait list.
Okay, what say you?
And so that's pretty typical there, right? So there's a hit and miss with whitelist, right? So I always say same kind of concept as it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right?
Exactly.
So I always like it. I love collecting whitelists just for the fact that I have them and I don't have to use it if I don't want to, right? Now, the difference is, though, you can also sell whitelists. A lot of times whitelists show up as a token. They're not always tokens, but sometimes you'll get a whitelist token. Some people will sell their whole freaking wallet because of how hype a mint is, right? So, for example, when Trip and Ape Tribe minted, I'm talking like old school stuff, by the way. Anyways, these things are like all like now considered like rugs or D-rugs. But at the time, I minted that one for, I think it was like 2.5 Sol or maybe like 3 Solana. And when I minted it, I got a legendary ape within 3 minutes. So I minted it during the whitelist phase. So, I mean, people were buying these whitelist tokens for like 15, 20 Solana each. So I could have sold it prior to minting it. So I could only mint it for 3. And then I would have sold it for whatever the floor price was, right? But I could have sold before minting, no cost to me at all, and made 20 Sol. At the time, Solana was like $100 a piece. Yeah. I would have been like $2,000 here. Cool, I got a whitelist. I'm going to sell my whitelist spot for $2,000.
You can do a whitelist spot like you're wholesaling a house.
And so people will take that because it's almost like, no, think of, for real estate terms, imagine when the super hot market and there was...
You're flipping the paper.
And it's the new builds, right? And they're doing the raffles. Well, if you got raffled and you got picked and you wanted to turn around and sell
it, that's a better example.
Someone else will, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for your spot right now because how hot the market is. And you say, here you go. Boom, that's
a really good example.
That's your example of your whitelist. Is you have the ability to buy before anyone else is able to buy, right?
All right, so let me take that another step. Okay, so basically I get this whitelist, I'm doing the NFTs, and it seems to me like, again, no respect to the community, I'm disrespect. I'm trying to learn, and I'm guessing a lot of the people that are listening are also very attentive because this is like another world for all of us. So basically, I get these white lists. I go in, and like Bret did, I buy, 3, 4, 5, whatever I can buy, the max. You said 3 sometimes and 5 sometimes. So I pick them up, and then when it goes into the open market, and I turn around and I can sell them. So give us an example of an NFT outside of the Bored Apes NFTs that has not only gone to the moon, but also has been able to stay there for a longer period of time than maybe the Bored Ape,
Ethereum, there's Azuki, right? So Azuki's another huge one that's going to be out there. It's actually, they're doing a Vegas event next month here. Actually, maybe later this month. I forgot on it. I need to look up the dates. But it's a huge project. You can look them up as well. They're roughly around the same price point as what I was just mentioning. Actually, a little bit more expensive. So there's those. There's Gary V's project, right? Gary V has his own project on there.
VeeFriends.
VeeFriends, yes, sir. And so VeeFriends is another huge one that's held up and strong.
They just had a huge VeeFriends convention in Minneapolis.
And it gets you into VCon, right?
VCon, it's like 3 days long or something.
And so that's another huge one that's on Ethereum.
Can you give us a little bit more detail for some of these, let's say, listeners, viewers that may not know what VCon is, and then you can follow up. Can you?
Well, you can, if you want to
go ahead, man.
VCon,
This is you.
So he does an event every year. I'm not too knowledgeable on VCon, so I don't want to speak too much on it. But yeah, so he has an event every year, right? And it's called VCon. And so that's people that want to come in, and he has tons of, high-end speakers that come in and speak to the audience, right? And teach people about entrepreneurship, everything that has to go along in his business, right? Everything he does. But each one of his NFTs, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't own one, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But they have different traits, right? Every NFT has a different trait. So I'm fairly positive with his is he has a specific trait that's tied to certain different types of utilities for him. Some of them could be as simple as, hey, if you have this specific trait, you're going to be able to be on this Zoom call with me once a week, right? If you own this specific trait, you get to be in, front seats of my place or my events. If you get this specific trait, you get, and I'm just throwing things off the top of my head. I don't know the exact numbers or exact benefits, but there's plenty of things that are out there in his collection, but every collection is different.
And then you'd have things like surprise boxes in it where you buy an NFT and it's got some extra surprises on it that you didn't know about it. It's like the golden ticket in Willy Wonka. So lots of different things that you can do on that. But a lot of it's people who are entrepreneurs or trying to grow their business or want to get more out there with social media. Because when you go to the VCon, you can meet with him and he meets with everybody and you can get some time on his Instagram and film a reel or whatever it is, but get personal advice from him And he's straight up honest. Like one person was like, hey, this husband and wife had formed a company. Hey, we have a V friend and we came to VCon and we're trying to grow this business. We want to change the world on. And he goes, okay, well, how much social media are you doing? Well, the thing about it, you go, listen, it's a simple question. How much social media are you doing? Well, yeah, how much? So it comes out that they're posting once a week. And he just straight up, he's like, so you're trying to tell me that you're going to change the world on posting social media once a week. Like he's just real with people, but these are things that people need. They need to hear. And when you're hearing it from somebody like that you respect, that's just one aspect. It's a whole community and membership that you get to be a part of. And that's, I'm assuming, why part of the price of the mission for that NFT, I guess, is because of the head of it, Gary V, and the respect that he has for what he's been able to do in the business community and lots of different business communities. So it's a whole group of people that want to identify as being part of his community.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, every project has a different utility behind it, right? So I run a project called Mile High Ape Club, right? And the ultimate goal for us as a utility, and this is a long-term vision, right? Because right now we're in the middle of building out the business and building out everything that we do with it. But the ultimate goal is right now you can actually stake your Mile High apes, right? Put them on a staking platform, and you're earning what's called Miles token, right? So it's an SPL token that's on the Solana chain. That Miles token will eventually be able to link into a website that you're going to be able to convert those tokens into real airline miles. So by owning our NFT, you're going to be able to travel the world for free by owning our NFT and just being put onto a staking platform.
I just staked mine this morning.
Nice.
Didn't I?
You got a Viking too.
I got a Viking too. I had to blow him up on the text message to be able to get that done, but 6:30 in the morning, nothing like a text
from
from me.
A Viking, man, you're part of the Viking DAO. So Viking DAO.
Now I'm getting some Mile High miles, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's like, for example, like that's just one utility that is being made from us, right? So every single project that's out there has different utilities tied up to it, and it's just a matter of every investor is going to choose what utility makes the most sense to them, right? Like, is this something I'm interested in? Cool, then you might want to buy into it, right? But at the same time, the reason why you were asking earlier about whitelist, it's because most projects have a typical J curve, right? Like, or bell curve, I should say, right? Like, they typically take off. If there's hype
up,
behind it,
and then
take
down
off like crazy, and then they have price exploration. They figure out where they're at, right? So they take off.
Price discovery.
Yeah, price discovery.
Yeah.
If you're in and you can get in the very beginning, you typically do fairly well, right? And like, there's certain projects that I wouldn't flip right off the bat because I feel like they're going to be long-term holds, right? And there's some that I flipped right off the bat and I regret that I did because I'm like, damn it, I wish I would have held them because I'll live.
Here's the thing. Why don't you tell us about how you would get started on a Discord? Can you walk us through that?
For a typical person to just get into Discord?
Yeah. Not just to like sign on. I think most of our people are pretty sophisticated. They'll get on. But how would they get on a Discord and then maybe start a project like that? Just the basics. I mean, not...
They would start one themselves?
If they've never been on there, there's going to be pretty lots to start one.
Discord is definitely an interesting platform to be a part of, right? Because you can join Discord and you can start, get in there and you can create your own channel if you wanted to. But the way Discord works is there's different actual communities that are within there, right? So unless you go and you get an invite for another community, you're just in your own community. So it's a party of one talking to one, right? Like you're talking to yourself, right? Until you bring people into your own community. So if you really wanted to build one, you can, right? But the first step would be to learn how Discord communities work, right? So I would say go on to any NFT project, whether you want to get...
I would say go on to Twitter.
Yeah, if you want to get into Ethereum-based, then go look up some Ethereum-based NFTs, find their Twitter account or find their account on OpenSea, right? And then normally there's going to be a link directly to their Discord. Click that link, join their Discord, verify. You're not going to be able to get into the holders portion, but you can get into the general section of it. You'll be able to learn the verification steps, learn how everything works, because Discord is a very, very high security platform. You need to have security built into it if you're going to build on it. It's really easy to create one without any security, and people get their Discords hacked all the time. And then if that happens, then you're liable for your whole community, right? So there's very, very important steps that you have to put into place to make sure you understand how roles are working and how the hierarchy of roles work, where you're placing those roles in the six sections.
Do your research to find out what's popular and why it's popular, right?
So if you're creating yourself, you need to know, and you have to have experience.
Yeah. I mean, and that's all the difference in the world. If it's popular, I mean, why are you wasting your time on one that's not popular? Those people obviously aren't doing things right. So look at like land. Why does an acre of land on the strip cost $30 million, but 100 miles that way in the middle of the open desert, it's worth $5,000 an acre? Location. It's a desirable spot on the strip and it's not desirable 100 miles out. So same thing. You know, you don't want to buy that land 100 miles out. You want to buy that land that's an acre on the strip if you can afford it.
Be nice.
Okay, so let's say that I want to open a Discord. Let's say I want to call it Pedro.
Yeah.
And in that, I want to do an NFT. And in that NFT, I want to be able to trade it. Okay. And then I want to have PedroCon, right? So I can get something going. So what would be the first few steps outside of the basics? You know, I think most of us could get through the security protocols and all that. So what would I need to do? Would I first need to go to Blur or OpenSea, start my NFT called Pedro, right? Would I need to also mint a coin to be able to do it? I mean, can you walk us through just a little bit? I mean, I know it's lots of technical stuff, and I don't need you to go so deep, but just to give the listeners an idea, because most people avoid the unknown. It's been my experience. So if you can give them a little light, they may start, you know, going in and even look at your personal opportunities that you could have on your Discords. And feel free to mention a couple of your Discords that are more popular for them to go and check out. What say you?
Yeah, so I mean, if they're trying to literally start from scratch and start their own project, right, there's a lot of moving parts that have to happen. They have to get all the people in place for it too, right? Like sometimes people will feel like, oh, I can do this all myself. It's physically impossible to run a project by yourself. I mean, you could, you just would be full-time 24 hours a day type of thing, right? Like, so I would never recommend it, and I don't think it would be successful if you try doing it by yourself.
You mean to start one or someone
To even
can't
start it, yeah, you cannot start this thing by yourself. I mean, you can have the idea, right? But you need a team. Every single one of these things that you want to do, you're going to need a team because you cannot fulfill every role, right? It's physically impossible for you to fulfill every role that's going to be there. I mean, unless you're artistic and you create your own art, not going to happen, right? You have to create the art. And when you create the art, right, it's not just a matter of you physically creating all these different pieces, 10,000 pieces, 5,000 pieces, whatever your collection size. So one, you have to determine how big your collection is going to be, right? And that's largely influenced on which chain you're going on, as well as what your utility is going to be behind it, as well as your tokenomics. If you are going to have a token, you don't have to have a token. Not every project has to have one. And so you need to kind of have an idea of all those things that are going to play together to find out that, right? But then majority of NFTs that are out there, especially community-based ones, the ones that you see on OpenSea, the ones you see on, Tensor or Magic Eden or any of those ones for Solana-based ones, those are typically called generative art, right? So they generate the art. And the reason why it's generated is you create traits. So you create a base trait, a body-based trait, so just literally the outline of the background. Then you make a clothing trait, like a T-shirt, right, that goes onto the body, right? You make an eye trait, you make a mouth trait, a nose trait, not ears. Ears are probably part of the base typically. You make a hair trait or a hat trait, like different traits, right? So each one of those would be categories. So hats, you might have 20 different hats. You might have 20 different types of T-shirts, hoodies, jackets, blazers, doctor's outfit, whatever it is, clothing. Then you might have different types of chains that go on your necks or headphones that are on your head or headphones on your neck. All the different categories that are there, all the different mouth features, right? Smiles, grins, being sad, being angry, all the different things you can do for mouth facial feature. Those are all different traits, right? Now, each one of those traits, as a project owner, you can't just make them all be equal. They all have to have a rarity behind it. So you're going to determine how many of each one of those traits are going to be in your system.
So why can't you make them all to be equal?
If everything's equal, then everything's going to be the same rarity, right?
But I thought the point was to buy into the community. Like what I mean is, so if you have one that's more of a rare trait than one of the other ones and is valuable more, does that bring you like extra level of membership, of access to people? Or do you get any extra benefits? Or it's just because we decided to take 100 or something and we just wanted to make them look randomly different and we're just going to randomly just assign different values to each one? And so other than that,
it all depends on you as a project founder, right? Like, do you want to have rarities? You don't have to have rarities. So
but
if you're
what would be the point other than?
So realistically, it's kind of like, think of baseball cards, right? Like if baseball cards had no rarity, would they ever be able to be traded? If every baseball card had the exact same amount of rarity, if every single one of them was printed with the exact same amount of prints, ever made, would any of them ever have?
Well,
value?
I mean, don't their rarities come in as like I have, say, like
Number one,
Hank
of 100.
Williams rookie card or Babe Ruth's rookie card versus like.
And there's only 5 in existence, right? If there was 100,000 in existence, like,
But there weren't when they first were printed out.
They weren't, exactly. So there's only 5. So they're very, very,
But
very.
that's the value in it, is that there were and now there's not. Other than I just want to make this one look different than the other one. Where's the value?
So there was. So that's the difference, right? Back in the day, they didn't print millions of cards, right? Like they printed only so many.
Yeah,
and they actually
didn't
and they
print
did
infinite.
Okay, I understand, but let's say there's more than 5 left of Babe Ruth
just
cards
threw
when they
random.
first
Yeah, I
came.
just threw-
Yeah, so I'm just using that as an example. Is it's all relative to the popularity at the time and when people are using them. So I think that comes into play too. But what I'm saying is, so other than we want to make each character look different, and then we're just going to randomly surprise people because theirs is worth more, like. Other than just to have different traits, is there any value there as far as I get another level of access to people, or I get to go to 2 extra shows, or?
Again, that's all going to basically be project by project, right?
Okay.
There's no guarantee on any of those, and it's a matter of each project's choice. So what we were breaking down the idea of building one. If you're creating
building
one,
an
right?
Yeah.
NFT, right? So
You as a project owner would have to decide, do I want to create any kind of benefits for rarities, right? But the idea behind having rarities, right, is you do want to have some kind of aspect of tradability, right? If everything's equal, people are going to just basically buy them all and they're all worth the same.
That's
right?
a good point. That's a good point.
Let me just layman here ask a question. Okay, so the Pedro coin, I go in and I put in 100 possible differences for all of those traits that you just aforementioned. So 100 for eyes, 100 for nose, whatever, doesn't matter. And then I'm in Solana. Okay, it's all done, right? So from there, how many NFTs? So you're saying the value will come based on the rarity of the NFTs that can only be created, because what do you do after that? You just throw away the key?
No, so the value is not necessarily there, right? Like, so that again is up to you as a project owner. You have to decide, is rarity going to matter? Does rarity matter? Yes or no, right? If it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter, right? It's simple as that. The difference is people will vibe. You know, I say vibe, right? Like they're going to enjoy, or they're going to like, or they're going to look at it and say, I really like that one over this one, just based on the way it looks, right? So the traits will make you like it. Like some people might be really basketball players. If there's a basketball jersey on one, people might be like, I'd rather have that basketball jersey than the guy in the suit, right? Because I don't wear suits.
I like the
so
guy
don't
with the
wanna-
shades and the cowboy hat.
Exactly. I like that one. Like they like the way it looks, right? So it's vibeable, right? So that's the idea behind it. Is there might be people that absolutely all like, if the whole community loves basketball jerseys, then guess what? That basketball jersey trade is going to be the most valuable one in the entire community. And anyone that wants to buy it is going to have to spend a premium to get it, right? And that's just because that's what's desirable, right? And it's just because of what people in the community chose to be desirable. It's as simple as that,
I get
right?
that. I get that.
But
the people decide.
You as a project owner, if you're creating it, you have to generate the art. So the whole point of that conversation was you're creating all these different traits. You have to now put it into a trait generator, right? You're going to put it into a system that's going to automatically layer all these traits randomly for you and make sure that there's no duplicates. So once that's done, you're going to have to make sure that there's 0 duplicates in the system, right? Because you don't want anyone to look the exact same as the other, because that's the whole point of a non-fungible token, right? Is,
And
everything
how
will be
many of
different.
those can you create?
So that all depends on how many traits you have, right?
So if you get 100 traits per thing, you're just going to multiply it by
you can
the 100?
If you had 100 traits times all the different traits that are potential there, you can have an unlimited amount of collection, right? But realistically, most collections you see are like anywhere from 3,000 all the way up to about 10,000.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger ones are like 15,000. Those are like really bigger ones. There's some that have done some crazy numbers, but really, if you dilute it too big of a collection, the amount of people that are actually active users in the space, are not there to buy it out, right? So now you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you make it too big of a
Do
collection.
you happen to know how many Bored Apes there are available?
Off the top of my head, I have no clue. To be
Yeah, I
honest.
don't either.
remember.
I'm just curious
I'm
if
not
you
in there.
I know a guy who minted, was one of the original minted, a Bored Ape. I had him on podcast I used to have a couple years ago. Preston was his name. And literally we had him on in March. And he's like, yeah, I just minted this Bored Ape yacht and it's an NFT. And I was like, what's an NFT? and then like 6 months later it's worth like 200 grand.
Wow.
He just, I don't know how he got connected with it, but he literally minted one. What I just remember looking at him every time and like, you lucky.
Hey,
like out of all the NFTs that go to crap and don't do anything, this guy mints like the granddaddy of them all.
Someone had to win.
Someone had to win. It was him.
Well, you know what the definition of luck is? That's when
Hard work meets opportunity.
That's when preparedness.
Meets opportunity.
Can I say this, boy? Can I say that? You mind? That's when preparedness meets opportunity. But here's the problem: that if you're not prepared, in other words, you weren't in the space, then what ends up happening is you never get the opportunity. So it's like having a buddy that has a $10 million Bored Ape collection, right? And he tells you, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell one, right? And you say, okay, what do you want to sell for? Well, for you, I'll give it to you for 30 grand. You have the money. You buy it for 30 grand, right? You turn around and go to the open market and you realize it's worth $1 million, right? But your boy did you a solid, right? But if you didn't have the 30 grand at least, it wouldn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think what we're getting to the bottom of this is I think all these NFTs are in the incubation stage. I think people are just still trying to figure out what they're going to do with them.
They absolutely are.
Right. And so right now, I'm not saying they're Ponzi schemes, but I'm saying there are some schemes going on to try to make money off these discords with these NFTs. But I can also see where it could take off and become something very valuable, right? And I hope it does for some of these people. But there's going to be a lot of people holding the bag, I think, okay, until it gets mass adoption. Once it gets mass adoption, in the not so distant future, I think people are going to use NFTs a lot more. I think that's going to drive down the price, but I think you're going to make more money in the aggregate. I think we're going to use it for just about everything. I think developers are going to make it easier. Maybe Solana and the boys come up with a way for people like the average Joe, like me, can go in there and develop these NFTs, so that way I can do functions of sorts, and maybe those become valuable to some who want to turn around and trade and make money.
It will be used in every single business. So when we're talking about NFT right now with the community, that's just one aspect of it. You can also put a house for a house transaction in an NFT, and there's a lot of other things. Basically, an NFT is owning the digital rights to something. So yes, you can also use it in a form of I'm forming a community and I'm part of this community, but at the end, it's also owning the digital rights to something and proving that you own the digital rights. It's stored on blockchain. So think about all the different businesses of ownership rights or copyrights or transacting homes or any other form of business that they're in, where NFTs is basically packaging it all up into a smart contract and being able to facilitate it immediately with removing a lot of the friction that's in between.
I agree. And let me ask you a question, Thomas. When it comes to the NFT, and can we plug in, and then we'll wrap it up with this question, okay? Can we plug in the monetization aspect of it? And how do you do that roughly? So let's say we develop that Pedro NFT and we want to monetize it in some way. How would the average Joe do that? Would it be a Bitcoin? Would it be Ethereum? How would it work?
When you say monetize, what do you mean specifically? Like to be able to sell it?
Yeah.
So once you have the artwork, right? So we were talking about how to build the whole thing, right? So it starts with your Discord, but once you have the artwork completed, right? All the artwork's done, you now have to put it into what's called a candy machine, right? So candy machine is basically like a giant fishbowl, right? But it's a digital fishbowl, right? And so how does a fishbowl work? Well, it's out there. You reach your hand in, you grab one out, you don't know what you're getting, right? Same kind of thing as when you open up a baseball pack of cards. We talked about them earlier, right? You open up a pack, you have no clue what you're going to get, right? And so when a project starts, sorry, this is probably too far away. When a project starts, they have them hidden. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't get to go select and say, oh, like you go to OpenSea right now, you can see what you want on there. You can go buy something that you like, right? Yeah. Well, a mint is different. A mint is the first time it's coming to the market. So it's almost like a stock.
It's putting it on blockchain. It's making it real.
It's a stock offering.
Stock, yeah, initial price offering.
IPO.
It's an IPO. Exactly. That's what I was looking for. It's an IPO basically of the NFT, right? And so by doing that, you're not having a clue what you're getting. You might get something good. You might get something that's really common. You might get something that's legendary. You might get something that's mythic, right? So that's where the ranks come in, and that's why ranks matter, in my opinion, because that's what starts the ball That's what starts the ball rolling. With the fact that you can mint something and right off the bat turn around and sell it for 10, 20 times what you bought it for because it's a mythic or it's a legendary, right? Same thing as if you bought a case of baseball cards, like they sell those whole cases and they do box breaks, right? You might get one card out of those hundreds that are one of the ones that are signed by it, and it's like a rookie card, and it's like, holy shit, that thing's worth $10,000. I only paid $500 for this box, right? Now that's the same kind of concept. You might pull one that's worth a lot more in the public's eyes, right? Again, NFTs are non-liquid typically. So being the fact that kind of along the lines where you said it feels Ponzi-ish, and that's where it does feel that way because it doesn't have an exchange, right? There's no place that you just automatically say, hey, I see the floor price of this is 10,000. I want to click sell and it sells, right? Now they have built out these AMMs, automated market makers now. So now it does help a little bit with the liquidity of an NFT, right? Because before they were totally non-liquid. You hold it. The only way you get out of it is if you find someone to buy it for it. And they're either buying it for more than you paid or buying it less than what you paid. Simple as that, right? And that was the way that they've worked for a long time. Now with these automated market makers, very similar to buy and sell orders, people can put buy and sell orders out there saying, hey, I'm willing to pay this much for an NFT. I don't care which one, just anyone that's in this collection. And now you have the option to click sell directly to that person, and you don't have to wait for someone that come around and want to buy it from you, right? So if those are running, you're good too, right? So that's kind of another thought process behind the ability to be able to sell them, right? At that point, if you don't have that AMM running, then you really have an illiquid asset that you're sitting on.
Think about having a DeGod and using it for decentralized financing and use that for a down payment on a home loan. It'll be there someday.
You can say this. I don't know if you.
It's just like putting your other assets in and cashing out your assets. Right?
I don't know if you're going to leave this in the video or not, but I'll say my goal is by the end of this year to sell off my Utes and put it as a down payment on a house. So
there you go.
I'll for sure use at least 3 of my NFTs.
Damn right, we leave that in the video.
Yeah, good. Well, on that note, I mean, Bret, do you want to wrap her up with any last?
No, man, I had a great conversation. I joined his Viking community about 30 days ago, a month ago. So I'm just trying to wrap my brain around everything, but I can very much tell you Thomas knows what he's doing. He's also on our blockchain committee with the Realtors Association. So I would say anybody out there who's interested in a project or how to get started, or you have a great idea about a project, you're going to need an entire team to do it. And I would contact Thomas because he very much is capable of taking it off the ground and getting it going. He knows what it needs. So
any last words, Thomas?
Yeah, I appreciate it. If anyone does want to reach out, we are Inception Studios. We do start from start to finish of any NFT project that's out there. We will do consulting is our main focus. That way we don't want to have to run it for you. We do want to have you be fully involved in it as well. So, we can take a full ownership of it if you want. It's just going to be, the terms are all going to be based on what you guys, how much involvement you want in it. But I always say any project owner that wants to start it, they need to understand that they will be spending some time on a daily basis in their project. They can't just say, hey, I want to start this and then not do anything with it, because it will die. Because if you're the project owner, that's what the people want to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.